Pegasus Seiya, who has lost his memories, finally meets Saori Kido, who is the goddess Athena. He doesn't know who she is, but he wants to return her hat that was blown away by the wind. This is the final scene of Chapter 1 of the Heaven Saga of Knights of the Zodiac. However, now finally, my friends, Chapter 2 has been released and it's amazing. Hello, Knights and Amazons. Welcome to the Semperquist Saber channel. I'm Wes. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you everything that happened in Chapter 2 of the canonical Saint Seiya manga and the Heaven Saga. Are you enjoying this final saga of our beloved heroes? Leave a comment and let me know. And of course, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's get into this awesome video. Sempre quis saber. The wind was blowing hard among the ancient ruins around the sanctuary. That place seemed quiet until the silence was broken by someone calling for Saori, the young lady who lost her hat. Amidst the desolation, Seiya, the legendary Pegasus Knight, walked up to the girl. He smiles and asks Saori, "This is your hat, isn't it?" This was a fated meeting. Saori, surprised, looks back. The young woman was a bit confused. Her memories had been lost. She takes the object and asks, "Is this hat mine?" Seiya, still smiling, replies, "Don't you remember? It flew away in the wind earlier, didn't it? Don't you remember?" Suddenly, as she touches the hat, Saori is surprised. A flash of disconnected images crossed the girl's mind. She felt dizzy, as if she were facing forgotten fragments of her own existence. Cloudy memories that had been erased come to the surface in her mind. In them, Saori remembers exciting moments she lived alongside Seiya. She was surprised, and with wide eyes she said, You are Seiya. Saori gets emotional and tears appear in her eyes, and suddenly an intense light surrounded her mind. Seiya was surprised and asked, "What? How do you know my name?" At that moment, Saori feels something once again in her mind. The girl staggered and fell to her knees. She puts her hand on her heart, apparently feeling some kind of pain. Seiya gets worried and asks if that girl was okay. However, Saori was even more confused. She desperately tried to find an answer in her empty mind. And Seiya is surprised as she says, "Me? Who am I?" Seiya is surprised. He asked what the girl was trying to say, and in her mind, Saori said, "I can't remember anything, not even about myself, who I really am. Why am I in this place?" Saori stands up and walks away, leaving her hat behind. Seiya didn't know what to do, but suddenly the young Shun approaches. He brings with him a cart full of plants. After all, now he's just a simple flower seller. He asks Seiya what happened. Seiya looked at his friend and replied, "It's nothing but that girl." Shun listens to the story carefully and then is surprised. What? She lost her memory. Seiya says that's what it seems. And Shun thinks for a moment and then reveals something surprising. "So she's just like us." Seiya smiles and says, "Yes, that's right. Without a doubt, that's it." Shun also smiles and Seiya then reveals, "We also met around this place not long ago. Besides our names, we didn't know anything else about each other's past." Seiya looks at the sanctuary clock as he says these words. He then scratches his head and says, "I wonder who we really are." Seiya had a sad look because he couldn't remember his life before coming here, and Shun had a serious look when he heard that. However, suddenly, someone approaches. They hear footsteps, and before they realize it, they are already surrounded. Dirty, skinny people with tattered clothes approach. Seiya asks what the hell these guys are. The men with vacant stares try to grab Seiya. However, the former Pegasus Knight gets irritated and with simple blows manages to get rid of them and throw them to the ground. The men try to get up again, saying words like food and money. However, suddenly they collapse because they are weak. What look like a horde of zombies are apparently just extremely poor, needy, and hungry people. Seiya watched as Shun approached and said, "They must be bandits." It seems that lately the number has increased drastically. It's as if public order around the world is getting worse. If this keeps up, soon there will only be bad people left in the world. There's a rumor that the surface will soon be covered in darkness. I wonder if that's because the goddess who protected love and justice on Earth has disappeared from this world. When he hears this, Seiya becomes curious and asks, "Goddess, but what do you mean by that?" Shun smiles and replies, "Well, I don't know the details either since it's just a rumor." Then, Shun begins to tell Seiya the details of that rumor. But meanwhile, in the depths of the underworld, something truly evil was happening. We see Jean d'Orthros, and he shouted, "Rise up! Hey, I told you to get up, skeletons!" That place in the underworld is apparently a cemetery of sapures bathed in an evil energy. The specter that was awakened by the goddess Kur was kicking the sapures while shouting the order for the specters to awaken. Under the creature's command, the sapures began to tremble. The empty black armors started to move on their own. Dark magnetism joined the pieces of metal together, and the specters rose from the ground wielding colossal scythes. Those are the skeleton specters, the lowest tier of Hades' army, being the weakest soldiers in the underworld hierarchy. The resurrected soldiers were surprised, not understanding how they had come back to life. The newly awakened looked around in confusion and asked, "But what is this, Sir Jean d'Orthros?" Jean d'Orthros, the fearsome specter who would now be the commander of these dark forces, smiled and explained to everyone. "Just as I imagined, it seems that Athena's seal is becoming ineffective, even with the low-ranking skeleton soldiers. You are all so lucky creatures." The skeleton specters were still curious to know what had happened, and Jean revealed, "Not only have you awakened, but as a special gift, you will also be granted eternal life." The specters are surprised by that revelation. "Really eternal life?" And Jean then replies, "Well, if you want it, you'll have to kill a girl named Saori who is in the village of Rodorio. It seems that young woman is the incarnation of Athena." The specters become apprehensive. They must take the life of Athena's incarnation. John then orders, "For now it seems she has lost her memory, but we must not let her awaken again. Kill the goddess Athena before she awakens. For the resurrection of Hades' army, if you understand, then go." Meanwhile, in the peaceful village of Rodorio, Seiya returns home as night falls over the village. Seiya enters his house and says, "I'm home, Seika. I just got back." And suddenly someone comes out from behind the curtains. This is Seiya's sister, who is finally together with her brother, living peacefully. Inside the house, Seika greets him with a warm smile and says, "Welcome, Seiya. Thank you for your hard work. The food is ready, so wash your hands." Seiya says yes and quickly obeys. And during the meal, Seiya thanks her. "It's delicious, just as I expected. My sister Seika's stew is really good," but then he mentions something curious that happened earlier that day. "Now that I remember, today I met a strange girl." Seika is surprised to hear that, but Seiya continues. "She looked like a young lady from somewhere, but apparently she lost her memories. However, she knew my name. She said Seiya." The mood changes quickly. Seika drops the spoon on the floor. Seiya notices that his sister is acting strange and asks what happened, but Seika replies, "Don't worry. Please eat quickly before it gets cold." Seiya then says that everything is fine, but with a face that shows his concern. Seika was thinking, she showed up right now, just when we finally managed to meet. "Please, please don't destroy this peaceful life." "Not now. Don't drag Seiya back to the battlefield again." At that moment, we see that Seiya took Saori's hat to his house, and meanwhile the Pegasus constellation begins to shine in the night sky of Greece. In the shadows of that place, the specters of Hades continue their hunt, desperate. One of them asks, "Did you find her?" The other replies that no, we didn't see her. The girl must be nearby. Just find her and take her life before she awakens as Athena. The specters celebrate and continue their search, and in the nearby ruins, Saori gazes at the night sky, feeling an unbreakable connection with destiny. Looking at the stars, she said, "How beautiful. Tonight the constellations are shining in an exceptional way." That's it, yes, without a doubt, the constellation of Pegasus. That's the constellation I trust the most. Destiny calls them once again, and the battle is about to begin anew. What an amazing chapter, my friends. Kurumada also left a final message saying that the exhibition of original Saint Seiya art will finally take place next spring. He asks fans from all over the world not to miss this moment. It seems that Kurumada is really excited about this saga, and the response from the fans has been very positive. Leave a comment about what you thought of this new chapter. And, of course, thank you for watching this video until the end, and see you next time. Burn your Cosmo to infinity.